The Sonic games have always been about going fast, and in fact, they sometimes go too fast. The Xbox 360 cannot handle this game, but thanks to the power of backwards compatibility, thanks to the power of FPS Boost, and thanks to the power of the Xbox Series X, we can now play Sonic Unleashed in 60 FPS, and let me tell you, it is great. Oh, and they added a bunch of other games, so we'll talk about that too. Whenever I was making this intro, I played through a little bit of like the second stage. I didn't know if you can pick them in different order. Anyway, the second stage that I played on Sonic Unleashed, I played through it in 60 FPS, and I'm like, this game's kind of weird, but this feels pretty good, I guess. Like, I could definitely see myself actually playing through this. Like, I understand why people like this. And then I swapped to 30 FPS to play on the recording. I'm like, oh my god, the response time feels so different. This feels laggy playing. Like, this is hard to play through. Like, I did the 30 FPS clip after I had recorded the 60 FPS one, so I didn't have a ton of experience in either of these. I literally just purchased the game. I'd never played it before. But I had more experience on the 30 FPS than the 61, and I felt like it was way harder to play. So that is a testament to FPS Boost. Some games you're not going to notice it that dramatically, like Fallout New Vegas probably won't be insanely different. I'm just guessing, I haven't done it yet. But I will say that Sonic Unleashed, absolutely you should play at 60 FPS, oh my god. So let's say you do have Sonic Unleashed. How exactly do you make sure FPS Boost is enabled? Well, hit start. On Sonic Unleashed, go to Manage Game and Add-ons, which is towards the bottom of the list. Compatibility is what we want. In here, you can turn on and off Auto HDR and FPS Boost. Now, FPS Boost increases the frame rate. This may reduce the display resolution for the game. This is going to be case-by-case basis, but for this, definitely turn it on. And now you're zipping and zooming and jumping and grinding and turning into a werehog at 60 frames per second. So, the good thing about this update is if we go into Xbox Game Pass, if you happen to subscribe to that, a lot of these titles are actually already on here or have just been put on here. So, like, Dead Space 2 has some enhancements. It's right on the front page. You can go ahead and grab it. And if you're having trouble grabbing some of those, you can instead maybe check out the store. I was not able to find Sonic Unleashed at my local game store. I saw online it was like maybe $20 or so whenever I was looking, but I'd have to wait and get it shipped, and it was going to take like a week, or I could buy it digitally for like $15. If you already own and have installed one of these games, you can just go ahead and start it right up. I'm going to be showing off Fallout New Vegas. It will boot into its special Xbox 360 mode, and if you ever want to go and mess with the settings, all you have to do is hit the guide button, go down to Manage Games, or Manage Game and Add-ons, and from there we can go into the compatibility options, and as you can see, we have FPS Boost on, so we will be running through this at 60 frames per second. So here we are, Fallout New Vegas running on the Xbox 360, which is in return running on the Xbox Series X. This is at 60 frames per second, and you can see the motion is pretty smooth. I'm almost 100% sure that this does not display at like the native resolution as well. Like, this actually looks pretty good. I am used to playing on PC though, and I play at higher than 60 FPS, but I would say this is pretty smooth. It doesn't feel super weird moving the controls around. That's something that all of the older Fallout games, and I think probably the Elder Scroll games as well, they just feel a little strange with the movement, like the way you sway back and forth, but ultimately this is fine. You know what's not fine though? This sniper rifle. This is really bad. Now let's go to 30 FPS. So we'll just go ahead and go to compatibility, turn FPS Boost to off, and then we're going to need to restart our game. And here we are, booting the game back up again. I do want to go ahead and say that that was the first time doing a Legion playthrough ever. As you could tell, I was doing no damage and was not prepared. I don't normally play as Legion, by the way. Please don't think I'm a bad person. Anyway, as you can see, we're just kind of jumping in to it right here. I did have to do a different save because I ruined my autosave. Could you have guessed that? Yeah, probably. If you've ever played any of these games, it's incredibly easy to ruin your saves. But 30 definitely feels more clunky. It kind of feels like I'm juddering around whenever I turn. Like, it takes a second for... It feels like I'm playing on a controller instead of keyboard and mouse, which is a very big difference for me personally. I think modern games are actually pretty dang good at making sure controller feels very responsive and having some air quote negative latency, if you will, whereas running at 30 FPS really does not help that. It takes a second for my movement to respond. It feels like I'm using a utility to move instead of having natural movement, but I mean, it still looks fine, and it's still definitely playable, especially for a game like this. You can definitely get away with playing Fallout New Vegas at 30 FPS, but why? Why do that if you could do 60? Definitely turn the 60 on. 60 is great. That guy, these guys aren't doing great, though. Let's move on. So what of the original Xbox games? So if you happen to have, some of them are available digitally, you can just run them, works pretty well. But here's my system. You can take one of these things. This is called a disc, and you can put it in the disk drive. And whenever you do so, it looks like this. And there you go. We're in the game, and it works. And here we are, Munch's Odyssey. We're playing on the original Xbox, on the Xbox Series X. It is running fantastically. I did go ahead and play through about 20 minutes or so of this. I probably would have done a lot less time, but this game is cool and I really like it. So I like actually kind of forgot that I was doing something until I think my phone went off and I was like, oh, it's been a little bit, huh? I should probably stop. But yeah, it runs fantastic. This Xbox anniversary update has been great. There's a huge list that you should absolutely check out, full of both bringing new titles to their backwards compatibility program and adding FPS Boost to existing titles like Fallout and Sonic, whereas this was just you couldn't play it and now you can. Now, oh, and a lot of these have auto HDR enabled as well, so that's something that's really nice. And there are games that have resolution increases. I don't know the whole list of what does what. If you go to Xbox, you can actually kind of check that out, though, which is really cool. Some of my favorites that were added onto here, you got, like, Beautiful Katamari is fantastic. You got some weird ones, like 50 Cent Blood on the Sand. I don't know how many people want that, but, you know, if you do, there you go. There's Manhunt. Sounds really cool. The Atagi? I don't know how to pronounce them. They are FromSoft games that seem pretty cool. There's a bunch of Star Wars games, Skate 2, Time Splitters. I'm not going to go through all of these, but those are some of the ones that I'm like, ooh, those jump out to me. I would be interested in doing that. No, with the news of all these additions, there is some like bittersweet kind of news that goes with that. Unfortunately, it seems like this is probably going to be their last update they're going to be doing, at least for a long time. It's weird. They said, I think like a year or two ago, they had said before that they had no plans to add any more original Xbox or Xbox 360 games to their backwards compatibility catalog. But now, here we are. We have more. So maybe they'll do more. I don't know. There's software issues, of course, in being able to do this. I mean, for a while on the Xbox One, they're just like, yeah, we just can't feasibly do it technology-wise. But here we are. They have done it. But more complicated than that, harder than that, and more depressing than that, legal constraints are probably going to be the biggest hindrance for this kind of thing. Being able to get some of the licenses, a lot of these are long expired. Some of these companies are just gone. And it's really difficult to be able to overcome some of those. A lot of the music, a lot of like cars in racing games, they have license agreements with, you know, like to get a Ferrari in your game or whatever. So unfortunately, this may be the last update that we see for a very, very long time, but really would recommend you guys go out and check out the list of games. And if you have one of these newer Xbox systems, get to playing. Some of these games are really, really good. And I am so glad that people are trying to make accessibility more of an important thing. We didn't really see that for a little bit, unfortunately. But I think people really now understand a lot of these games have been around for a while, and people still want to play them. You know, it's like people still want to watch old movies. Why would they not want to play Munch's Odyssey? They grew up with it. I grew up with it. I want to play it. And here we go. I'm playing it. And here we go to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have anything you want me to elaborate on with any of this stuff, please let me know. If maybe you want me to do some frame rate analysis for some of these games. I did show off Fallout New Vegas and Sonic Unleashed were very obvious to me which clips were in 30 or 60, but if you want me to go more in depth with this or that or something else, by all means, let me know, and I will see to it. And I will see you out. Get out of my room. The video's over.